Am I working? Am I working? Am I working it? Ugh. Yes, I am. That's okay. So, it's pretty late. It's 23:02 in the PM. I wanted to do this a lot earlier, but I spent all night working on a internet connection problem. I was on the phone with our brand new internet connection service. I do believe I have my problem fixed, but this was an inauspicious way to spend, I think, my first full day with our new internet service. It can only go up from here. So, is anyone actually awake out there? It looks like there are 2 people watching. Hey guys, I'm seeing in the live chat if anyone's introducing themselves yet, so I know who I'm talking to. It's weird because there it says 2 or 3 people. On the computer, because there's a lag, it still says 0. So I will go by that instead of this, because it makes me feel better about myself. Hey Tyler, hello. How's it going? How's it going, bro? I don't really have too much to talk about. It's funny. Part of what I want to say is sorry for missing. Like, I don't have a deadline every week for when I put up a video, but I'm trying to shoot, edit, and put up every weekend, and I missed it last weekend. Sorry guys, the video was a few days late because it only went up, what, last night? Yeah, I think it was last night. Life got in the way. But everyone who makes something of this YouTube thing makes it by being really consistent. Even if you only put something up once a week, it's like really consistent. Look at Joe Robinette. In fact, I heard a podcast that he was being interviewed on, and he said the same thing. He said that, what really helped him was just being really consistent. So, I'm going to try again this weekend to get something shot tomorrow and up by Sunday night. Also, pretty soon, I don't know about tomorrow, but pretty soon, this is going to happen. It's the cold steel Canadian belt knife. I know, this is probably backwards as hell, but, Canadian belt knife. I've been wanting to get my hands on something in this shape for ages. And so when my buddy, Simon, passed me that one just to try out, I'm going to have to give it back after, but I was pretty happy. Goblinton, hi, how's it going? How did you get emoji in the live chat? I didn't know you could do that. That's pretty cool. So look for this at some point soon. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow, but it depends on what tomorrow looks like, or this weekend, whenever the heck I can get my crap together. The brew of the night is Schwarzbier by Vruden Brewery, by Brasserie Vruden. It's a black lager. I shall now show you. Oh, the light in here is terrible. You know what? If I make any money at all this year on YouTube, I'm going to buy a lighting setup. Just a real simple one. Just because I'm really tired of fighting the lighting in here. Like, this is where I see myself shooting most of my indoor stuff. I'm surrounded by my tools and stuff. It's a safe space. Okay, that's definitely not a twist. So I have seen people use the back of a knife to open a beer, but I've never done it myself. So let's see if I can do this thing called opening. If I can't, Jonathan, yes, the app I use for live streaming does that all the time. I don't know why. It bugs the crap out of me, but yeah, it flips everything. And because I'm live streaming, it's not the kind of thing I can like fix in post, right? If I was shooting this and editing, I would just turn it around in Final Cut Pro. If I cut myself live, it'll give me a really funny story to tell. So, not exactly fearless here, but anything that gives me a funny story is worth it. Robin, hey, you haven't been in one of these in ages. What are you doing up, buddy? Yeah, I thought I was going to be really cool and, like, you know, like real men do, but this is not working. Not working worth crap. So, I will change the tool. You know, the funny thing, I have again misplaced my Leatherman. If I had that, I would just be able to pop this thing off. It's all the name of the beer. You know, it's funny, just checking on the message. Tyler is asking if any of you guys are in Michigan. Michigan comes up a lot these days. A lot of snow in southwest Michigan. A lot of snow everywhere, man. We've just been getting dumped on and dumped on. Today it's okay, but that was manly, right? That was okay. Only took an hour and a half. Jonathan Milley says, I actually use the knuckle on my thumb instead of the forefinger to leverage what I use to open. Let me just sort of... So, if you're holding it, next time I have a beer to open, I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if I know what you're... Alright, Schwarzbier. I'm buying that again. You know, funny thing, I don't drink a lot of beer anymore, or anything, because now that I'm now that I'm 45, I just can't handle it the way I used to, you know? When I was a younger man, I did a couple of really embarrassing things thanks to the magic of alcohol, but I just don't. Thing is, I don't like the feeling of being drunk because I've got a control issue, and I hate hangovers. Because the two things I cannot handle, the two kinds of ill or pain or whatever that I cannot handle are headaches and nausea. And when I'm hungover, I get both. So I don't do it anymore. It's not worth it. I just hate myself the next day. Oh, thanks, Tyler. He says that was manly enough, but that emoji makes me think you might not be being serious. Robin wants to see the label again. It's going to be backwards. It's Vruden, it's Brasserie Vruden's Schwarzbier. It's a black lager, which it's taken me a long time to get around to liking black lagers, because to me a lager has always been something very specific and kind of not dark, but you know. I'm just making sure I'm not missing any of the messages here. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm going to try to shoot something this weekend. I feel really bad that I didn't do it last weekend. This is the camera I shoot with, by the way. I didn't really mean to show it off or anything. It's just I'm doing a few things, and I figured I would talk to you guys as I do as I go. Like I have to erase the memory card. Frustrating thing. This lens right here, okay, this is their 24-105, all right? What I noticed in my last video, tell me if any of you guys noticed, I could hear it focusing. Like, I couldn't hear it while I was talking to the camera, but while I was editing, it was as it focused, and that really, really bugged me. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do about that. Format card. You know, it's funny. Those of you who use a Canon, you know what the interface looks like, right? And I think that we're about to see a generational divide happen. I don't think that this kind of interface is going to be acceptable to the next generation of shooter. Like my daughter, who's growing up taking pictures on this phone or using her iPad, that generation is going to expect so much more from their camera interfaces than those of us who, you know, like my first computer was a VIC-20, okay? There's no way I can be a snob about an interface. But I think that companies, especially these guys, man, Canon, dear Canon, I love you, but you are the abusive parent that I love, because everyone's doing 4K at this level of camera except you, guys. But that's not what I don't want to fall into a bitch fest or anything. But I do think that the interface is just going to have to change, because I know people who don't have cameras anymore. Even like people who shoot video and just use a fancy phone now instead of a camera, you know? Jonathan likes Unibrew. Yes, I used to drink much Unibrew. I don't as much anymore, because I find that so many of them are really high octane that, you know, there's a couple of them that just all I taste is the alcohol. But what Unibrew really helped do was kickstart the craft brew scene here, you know? And it's funny because I have a lot of experience with Quebec craft brew, a lot of experience with Ontario, and a lot of experience with Alberta, and a little bit with BC. And what I've discovered is that in Alberta and BC, it's really Seattle-y in that everyone's got an IPA, which I don't like, but it's really kind of a new world taste. It really it really moves, you know. Whereas here in Quebec, everyone's still trying to bring out like a really European taste. Like there's a lot of Belgian style. There's a lot of, you know, Irish style. There's a lot of French style. There's a lot of German, you know, style beers and stuff. And so I generally tend to like the palate out west a lot better. Yeah, exactly. Fins du Monde. Boom. 9%. Boom. Right? You drink the 750ml and it's like you just got punched in the head with a safe. And so I don't understand, you know, like, and there's a lot of Unibrew stuff that I grew up really liking, that I grew up because I started when I was 4. No, there's a lot of Unibrew stuff that I really liked as a younger guy, and there's a couple of them I can still taste. I really buggered that sentence. There's a couple of them that I still like, but not as much as I used to. Not with so many other cool things happening in the brew market, the craft brew market at any rate. But even this is pretty big. This is a 500ml, but it's 5%, so, you know, it's totally doable. I'm not gonna get, you know, I'm not gonna get pounded in the head by this, you know. It's a 5%. It's straight up normal. One thing that I kind of wish I'd gotten on screen, the Tea in the Bush episode, was suddenly needing a new blade for this saw, for my Pocket Boy 170. In a second. Plain Preacher. My first computer was an IBM mainframe and punch cards, and I still have my Texas Instruments TRS-80. I have good memories about a TRS-80, man. I have a buddy who currently lives in Australia, and he had a TRS-80. And he had a Commodore 64, and I don't think he had an Amiga, but you know, he had an IBM PC running OS2, and he really gave into Windows really late. But we were a couple of geeks. In fact, I spoke about him in my Deep Winter Thoughts episode a little bit, because his family had a cabin up near La Belle, I think. But yeah, I've got good memories of those old. I was at work today, looking at the Windows 10 screen two screens that I work at, and I suddenly really missed like old ass PCs, like before Windows, like amber screens. I missed like the Apple II. I missed that entire era in computers where everything was seat of your pants, everything was still new. Corporations were corporations, but they weren't really corporations. Yeah, DOS commands, stuff like that, you know? I miss those days. Like, because in those days, I knew something better was coming. You know, and I still know something better is coming, but it's all become jaded, you know? There's none of that sort of naive, bubbly aspect to the industry the way there was back in those days. But that's an aside. Gotta get a new blade for this. Snapped it in half. Funny thing, as my buddy Rob there and I do more and more woodwork, I have started using, like, right back. I've started using saws like this again, right? European style, cut on the push. And so what's happening is, because before Rob and I were working together on this stuff, I used exclusively Japanese pull saws, right? So, I mean, everyone who was saying, Silkies are no good, they're too fragile, I was like, no, you just don't know how to use it. You cut on the pull, you lighten up on the push, and I had it down to I didn't even have to think about it. But now, because like, sometimes I'm using a push saw, sometimes a pull saw, I don't have the same, it's not just instinct anymore. So I pushed it and forget about it. Broke it in half. So, I gotta get a new blade. But here's the thing, a lot of you guys are American, where everything's affordable. In Canada, the blade for this is not as affordable. It's not bad, it's not like $100 or anything, but, you know, it's not like a $15 purchase, you know, it's like a $35 or something. 30, I think, at Lee Valley. I love me some Lee Valley, by the way. I mean, that's where I'm going to buy it. This came today. I tell you what, every time a Lee Valley catalog comes, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get left this time. You know, because even though, like, this thing came and I already, like, circle, want, here's one thing, circle, want. I don't want to tell you too much about it because Robin and I are shooting a project that is several episodes long, and so I'm not putting them up until I've got them all shot, so that I can just edit them at my leisure and put them up. Where are you? Interestingly, that entire series I will not be shooting on the big camera because I started it on the iPhone, and I want to keep sort of the motif. See this thing here? Right? You stick your drill in it. Oh, I'm not even. We don't got no woodcraft. Jeez, Robin's doing the emoji as well. Where are you guys getting these? Anyway, you know that thing you stick your drill in, make sure it's perfectly 90 degrees. For this project, I would like to have that for a very specific part of it. But at $47.50, I might have to do it. I may have to do it. Let me just go back. Tyler, are you still here? If you're still here, say something down below. Because we're down to iPhone native. Yeah. So, maybe I'll order that and my new blade at the same time. In for a penny, in for a pound, am I right? I wanted to show you guys something. What was it that I wanted to show you guys? I don't remember what I wanted to show you guys. I had something, I was like, oh, they're gonna love it. And I don't bloody remember what it is. You know what? When you have a choice, always drop the sheath instead of the knife. Why I'm excited to be doing this is because the Canadian belt knife is such a weird shape that I can never believe that it's actually going to be comfortable, but I hear it's a very ergonomic knife to work with. Maybe I will do this weekend. Because, I mean, Simone lent it to me a long-ass time ago. But I just spent almost a half year with no time to myself, so. I'm just enchanted by the weird... It's got a 1951 look to it, you know? I'm just enchanted by it, by the shape. Obviously, this is a cold steel. It's not the original. Here's a funny thing. When I was doing my Canadian Connection review series, I mean, I still am, but they're spaced out. I've got some stuff to do. I sent out a bunch of long-winded emails saying, you know, hi, I have a channel with, at that point it was like 2,000 subscribers. At that point it was like 50,000 views. I'd like a sample, I'll send it back afterwards, or I'll give it to my viewers, or blah blah blah. And I sent one to Groman Knives, and I wasn't big enough to get something, which is legit. I have no problem with that because that is what I was expecting. But they didn't even bother answering me. So when it does become time for me to buy one of these, it's not going to be the original. It's not going to be a Groman. It'll be from someone else. Maybe the Cold Steel. But it won't be a Groman, because if I was in charge of media relations or PR, I would always answer, even the small guy. For two reasons. You never know when the small guy is going to become Joe Robinette. And the second reason is because I consider myself a decent person. I don't ever ignore someone's email on purpose. Some of you guys have sent me an email and I've only found it like 3 months later. I always sort of, sorry, I'm only seeing this now, blah, blah, but I always answer. Unless you're someone I don't like. Just kidding. So the fact that I wasn't even big enough for an answer, no. I'm a consumer, and I don't have to accept that as a consumer. So they're not the only ones making the belt, the Canadian belt line. Here's me starting that sentence again. So yeah, they're not the only ones making the Canadian belt knife anymore, so I don't have to go to them if I want one. If I decide that I really like this, LT Survival, comment va, monsieur? You got one of these too. Okay. Did you buy it, like, from Amazon? Did you buy it from Amazon or something? Like, where'd you get it from? Jonathan, it's got the Sierra saw. Yeah. Those are affordable as hell. And you've been using it for 20 years, eh? Man, I love the way a tool gets when you've been using it for a long, long time. When it becomes so comfortable, you don't have to think about it anymore. And you can see all the use, because they get beat to hell, right? You know, I love that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like finding a, you know, new old stock tool as well. You know, it was made 30 years ago, wasn't touched, and it's pristine and blah, 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 but come on. I like the comfort you get with something you've been using forever. You've used it hard and it just keeps coming back for more. Okay, LT got his on Amazon for 14 bucks. And it feels like a $14 knife. It feels like a $20 knife. Let's be nice about it. You know, this is not a fancy, right? It's plastic, but it doesn't have to be an expensive knife. This is also a non-expensive knife, but it was a heck of a lot more than 14 bucks. What's this guy's name? White? Someone White? Is that it? I don't remember his name. But this was not made by the same guy. What the hell's his name? Like, he does all the knives for James Townsend and Sons. You know, that store. They do the YouTube channel Townsend's reenactment and 18th century cooking and stuff. This guy is the knife maker for their store. If I like this knife, maybe I'll buy one for like a giveaway. I've got a bunch of giveaways planned. I just, you know, I want to hit certain milestones in order to do them. I kind of want to do something at 2,500. I have an axe here to give away, but it's not going to be at 2,500. I think I'm going to keep that for like 3,000 or something. But I have a couple of little things to give away. I like sending stuff out to you guys. I like receiving stuff too. When I got this cool swag, I was like, what? We're going to be making tea forever, man. But I like sending stuff out as well. I like having little giveaways, you know. Yeah, this is the one I'm going to give away. I think at 3,000. You know. It's a Walters. Not a black diamond. If it was a black diamond, it would be staying here. But it's a Walters. It's got a nice handle on it. This is one of the ones I got from Mullins Axe Works. What did you guys think of the color in my my swag video? I worked hard on it. On the two, like lunch in the bush and tea in the bush, or whatever the hell I called them. I didn't touch the color on them. I dropped the color settings on my camera to flat, but then I totally spaced the whole color correction part. So the last video I did that. LT, yeah, it sure is. And I bought it here somewhere, but not... Crap, where did I buy it? Where the hell was I? Maybe near Repentigny? I don't know, but I wasn't in Montreal, but like, you know, all the supermarkets have these wicked craft beer sections now, so you can probably find it anywhere. There you go, LT. Schwarzbier. Vruden Brasserie, which is, no, that just says product of Quebec. Oh, they're in Granby. Yeah. Granby, Quebec. Which we spend a lot of time in because of the zoo. Jonathan, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I broke the silky. And another thing about silky saws, and Japanese saws in general, is that you can't sharpen them, right? Because of the way they're hardened. If if you start losing teeth or whatever, well, that's the thing. When they start to go, you start losing teeth, you know? So long term, you can spend a lot of money on blades. But my silky is like, well, when it's not empty of blades, my silky is a real laser. You know, when it comes to the wood, man, it's like a lightsaber. Whoop! You know? Jonathan, like the color and lighting. Thanks, man. Yeah. I worked hard on it in here. Because the lighting in here is terrible, so I brought in like a lamp from the office. And one day I should just show you guys how I set up when I'm shooting in here. It's like the most ghetto, by the seat of my pants, like, breathe on it wrong and it's gonna fall apart kind of setup, you know? I'm using the tripod that years ago, a good 2 or 3 years ago, I threw down an escarpment in Alberta to keep from falling to my doom, because it was either the tripod or me, because I was starting to go. And so I had to buy a new tripod, and I bought a new tripod, and it's a big, heavy thing that is a drag to take out and move around. And so when I was going to do the... oh, that was polite, right? So when I was going into the bush to, you know, to do those 2 videos recently, I was looking at it, and I just looked over into the corner, and this scrappy ass tripod was sitting in the corner. It's broken, man. It's like being held together by like sealing wax and pleasant wishes, you know? So I've been using it lately because it's just so much faster to move around, you know? LT, which vid light do you have again? Is yours one of the apertures? I like aperture stuff. I've recently discovered newer. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Neewer. It's like a Chinese company. Good stuff for the price. Oh, cut it out, man. Oh, I shouldn't be this tired. I'm still young. I'm like 30 in American. Okay, you got the newer 260 LED. How much was it? And also, was that an Amazon purchase? Here's what we should do. Next time I do a live stream, next time I'll plan it first. It's tough to plan them ahead of time, but next time I will try to plan it, and everyone have 1 bottle of their favorite beer with them, and we'll compare notes. Okay, you got it on Amazon as well. Excuse me. Good old beer. So Jonathan and LT, are we the only 3 on here now? I think Robin might still be around. Robin, like me, is very good at staying up really, really late and then regretting it the next day. When I was growing up, I was always at my best between like 2 and 4 in the morning. And I got really good memories of, yeah, being of high school age. Sitting at my drafting table and drawing things. Really, like, so late at night that you get a light, sort of a queasiness in your stomach, just sort of like you're not feeling sick, but there's just a touch. And, you know, windows open, it's spring outside, and there's a breeze coming in, and I've got some cheesy late 80s song on the radio. I lived in a really crappy neighborhood at that point, but I don't know, that sort of, that memory, you know, sits there a lot. Oh, Plane Preacher's still here too. Cleaning out the fireplace and starting a new fire. Plane, man, I live in a city that has a ban on wood burning anything. Even fireplaces and wood stoves that are grandfathered in, like it's a 3-phase ban. And the 3rd phase is that even those people who are grandfathered in have to remove theirs and put in like inserts for either gas or like an electrical fireplace or pellet stoves. And I appreciate the reason is because the fine particulate matter is absolutely worse than car exhaust for asthmatics. I get it, I understand, but I love a nice fire. And when we bought this house, I was like, I don't care how much it costs, we're putting in a fireplace. And we can't freaking do it. I can't even have a fire pit in the backyard, you know? This little guy here. Oh, it's so hard to move around when you're old and fat. This little guy here can get me in trouble. Loophole, because it's not a permanent installation. But like, I can get in trouble for burning this. I can get in trouble for my charcoal burning barbecue. I don't think I will, but letter of the law. Excuse me. This thing's giving me the burpees, man. Letter of the law, I could get in trouble for either of those two. So if you're setting up a fire, damn it, man. I'll be there in 12 seconds. Jonathan, haha, I know that pain. Once the kids go to bed, that's when I get all my stuff done around the house and watching my vids in. Yes, I know. 1 a.m. in Newfoundland right now. Gonna have to sign off. So, wow, oh yeah, because I've never been to Newfoundland, by the way. I would like to fix that at some point. I've been to, with my band, I did a really mini Eastern tour of, stop yawning, like just PEI in New Brunswick. Gorgeous drive through New Brunswick, man. There's parts of it where you kind of think that civilization gone. You know, where you're driving through the middle of the province and it's forests and moose, and you're so far away from everything that there isn't even any cell signal or radio. A lot of people find that drive really boring, but I am just mesmerized by the woods outside. Oh, and we did that stretch at night, like pitch black. And I remember I was in the passenger side. I was riding shotgun and I was asleep. My wife was in the back. She was asleep. Filler was meeting us there, I think. And my brother-in-law, the guitarist, was driving. And he swerved to avoid taking out a deer. But he thought that maybe he just grazed her foot as she bolted. So we stopped. And we got out of the car. And we're looking around. And it's like, well, she's not here. And I just sort of glanced at the sky. And man, it knocked me on my ass. Because there wasn't a cloud. It was pitch black. And you know, like in a major city like Montreal or whatever, well, you probably can't even see it in New York, but like a big city, the Milky Way is like this indistinct kind of shadow, right? It's a sort of a foggy stripe that you can kind of almost see, but almost not quite. Man, if you're sitting where there's no light pollution and there's no nothing, and there are no clouds in the sky, and you look up, the Milky Way is dramatic, man. It's like this roiling mass of gases and just, oh, I love that stuff. You know, I have resentment over the fact that I was allowed to grow up no good at math. You know how you'd be talking at a party or something, and there's always someone who's like, well, you know, I'm no good at math. I have such a problem with that entire approach, because now here I am, you know, coming down the slope on the other side of my life. And if I had known the math, I would have loved to have been an astronomer or an astrophysicist or a cosmologist or a marine biologist. Like I discovered much later in life that I have a real love of science. But because I never learned the language of science, which is math, no matter which science you happen to practice, all I get is the punchlines, man. Like I can't dive into the narrative the way people who studied math and science can. You know, yeah, Robin, yeah, exactly. You even lose AM radio in that chunk in the middle of New Brunswick. LT, going to bed. Oh, he's hitting the woods with the cadets tomorrow on Sunday. All right. You did amateur astronomy as a youngster? I just keep staring at the... I even got an article published in the Journal of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada at one point, because I'm a member. I love that stuff. I find it all incredibly exciting. And this is a good time to be alive for stuff like that, man. We are in a golden age for space exploration. I know that we ain't putting people on the moon. I get that. And yeah, it bugs me too. But in a lot of ways, we know so much more than we did even 5 years ago, man. This is a good time to be alive if you're into stuff like that. It's a bad time to be alive if you kind of don't want to die in a nuclear conflagration. But the bright side is, we know a lot of planets are out there. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But we're putting cars into solar orbit. The question about that is, how much figuring went into that orbit? Like, what is it? It's orbiting around the sun. I get it. They've planned it so that it kind of won't hit Mars for the foreseeable future. I get that, except that they missed the part of the orbit that they wanted to go for. But they didn't go far enough for it to hit the asteroid belt. So how do we know that it's not going to hit something? Like, if they duffed up the orbit, how do we know it's not going to hit Mars or something else in the foreseeable future? Yeah, I don't know, because they missed where they wanted to put it. Do I even have to say any more about that? And also, okay. So here I'm about to say more about that. I also get that they needed to test the heavy lift capacity of that rocket. And Elon Musk loves a mediagenic stunt. But really? You put a car into orbit around the sun? That just strikes me as being like a massive act of egomania to me. It just seems really weird, you know? Hey, here's exciting news. Someone actually bought one of my t-shirts. I feel like I just won the lottery. That's $3 in my pocket, man. You know, that's the way it works. But I'm really happy, and it's actually the design that I really like as well. So it's nice. It's nice to get that kind of vindication, man. I have another design that in my head that I'm gonna at some point put together and put up. But I also don't want to front load this thing too much, right? Throw up 5 designs within 2 weeks and then just let it molder. gotta keep it interesting on the long term, you know. I was going to sharpen a plane blade while talking to you guys, but I forgot to do it. And there's stuff in the way, like, you know, computer, beer, the project that Robin and I are working on, Lee Valley catalog. I mean, geez, can't move that. Knives. I keep looking for something interesting to show you guys. But nothing. Just... Yeah. Rob says, at least it wasn't a Model 3. Yeah, you're right. It's funny because that was his original Roadster, right? The one that was based on the Lotus Elise. And I wonder how many of those are still being driven around. Because I see a lot of Tesla. Look, I live in Quebec, right? They're all about the electrical cars here. I see a lot of Teslas. There's a company, a taxi company that uses Model S's and Model X's for the airport run. For all the in-town stuff, they use more like the Nissan Leaf. The new version of which, by the way, is pretty. And they use, what is it, the Juke, or, you know, whatever's the, you know, the pedestrian level electric cars for all the in-city stuff, and then to hit the airport they use that's where all their Teslas go. Yeah, Taxi Tail, yeah, that's the one. But I ain't never. No, there was a guy who used to drive through my old neighborhood in an original Tesla, the Lotus bodied one. But I've never seen one since. I wonder where all those went. Like, I wonder what the long-term viability of one of those is. And I'm saying that as someone who loves the idea of an electric car and loves the fact that this company started the whole thing of making electric cars that go fast. You know, just to prove a point. The Lotus Elise was to prove a point and to excite people with megabucks. Because it's only through exciting people with megabucks that you can get the bucks you need to build a viable alternative car company. So I mean, I get it. But I'm not a fanboy. Like, I used to really love the Model X. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy one of those when I win 30 million. But you know what? It's classy. Something wrong with the rear end though. The back end on it, it's like it feels like they phoned that one in, you know? It feels like they threw all their work into the Model S. And then on the Model X they put in, you know, these goose wing doors and thought that would be enough to make it an exciting car. You know. Meh. But I want to love it, man. I really want to love it. If I won 30 million bucks, here's what I would do. I would buy a Land Rover Defender 120. It could be a late model. It doesn't have to be like an 80s one or anything, but the Defender, okay? The one true Land Rover. And I would get someone like Elon Musk to engineer a fully electric engine on it. Because here's the thing about electric is you get all kinds of torque, okay? So you can make a Land Rover or a Jeep. In fact, for 2020, Jeep is supposed to be bringing out a plug-in hybrid Wrangler. Swing. So yeah, I would pay someone mega money if that's what it took to engineer an electric four-wheel drive system. So that's something I'd probably be going with Elon Musk to make that thing go the way it should, even as an electric car. That would be mad. Whew. That would be exciting. There's a company in Florida that pays the mortgage by rebuilding Defenders, not electric. Like they build these things with like, this one's got a Cummins engine in it. This one's got blah. And most of the time, what they're making is really big, beefy kind of hopped up versions. But they recently made one or a line of them that, excuse me, that are a complete homage to the old school Defender. They've got like postmodern appointments to them. Like I think there's a screen and a backup camera and a really efficient engine and everything. But even the really modern stuff is period correct. It's like the car looks like an old ass Land Rover, like a 1982 or an 88 model Land Rover Defender. But you don't have the massive efficiency problems and emissions problems that the Defender suffered. And it's got to be like $100,000 US, because these kind of companies always charge massive, starting at $80,000. And the thing is, Land Rovers start expensive no matter how you slice it, Oh, I should be keeping track of an informed state of mind. How's it going there, bye? Not many electric cars in St. John's. Huh. Interesting. It's funny. I feel that there are so many electric cars in Quebec because the government wants there to be a lot of electric cars on the road for two reasons, right? One, Hydro-Quebec, Crown Corporation, right? Two, I feel that they feel the need to make a point, because they've said that, Hydro-Quebec estimates that we could have 80,000 purely electric vehicles on the road without them even ticking over. Which makes me wonder why my rates keep going up, but we'll just leave that one. And so I feel that they need to back that statement up, which is why there are charging stations on, downtown is full of them. Out where I work, there's a couple of them in some of the business parking lots. Like, there are a lot of charging stations, okay? I have got to stop yawning. But I feel that a lot of it is Quebec trying to prove that it can play with the big boys. Like, we don't do oil, but hey, electricity is just as good. And I buy that philosophy. But yeah, as Robin says, stick deployable solar panels on the Land Rover. Take it for camping. If the car just sits there for a week while you're camping, it'll be charged up and ready to go. You don't need a charging station. That'd be sweet, man. That's why I need to win the lottery. I need to win like 30 mil so I can do that. I can you know what? I'm going to buy that Land Rover Defender 120 because it's beautiful. And I'm going to do that. Man, that would be hot. That is kind of a Neil Young-y thing to do, right? Because his whole thing, remember, I don't know if you guys know this, but his whole thing is buying these big freaking land yachts. Big American, like a Lincoln or whatever, and then putting highly efficient, like, electric or biodiesel engines in them or whatever, and driving them everywhere just to make a point. And I would be that guy, man. Except I don't want, like, a Lincoln or a Cadillac. I want a Defender. 4 doors and the truth, man. Even with all the really weird little design quirks, like, how the cliched Land Rover, Defender driver, he's got one hand on the wheel and he's got one going out the leaning out the window. That's because the way those stupid things are made, the seats are too close to the outer, are too close to the door. So if you're not doing that, you're actually pretty close up against that door. Even small guys like me. So it's not just about being cool. Well, I guess it's a British car, so yeah. But of course, the camera's getting this backwards. It's fine. It's working out. You guys know what I'm saying. But that's a funny thing, you know? Like, designers make that kind of mistake and it becomes part of the character of the automobile. Weird, right? Bizarre. Oh, LT's gone to bed. All right, see you, buddy. Oh, Jonathan, you know if you get tax breaks there? Here, you get like $7,500 tax break if you buy the Tesla. $500 for a Prius. Hybrids are not nearly as attractive to the Quebec government as full-on electrics, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna have to swallow my pride and buy that blade pretty soon. Because this is like my main... You know, here's the thing. This is the Pocket Boy 170. And I think I should have gone for something a little longer. Like the 240, was that the Gone Boy? Because I do find that this is actually too short for a lot of the stuff I do. So if I could take it back and redo that, I would have gone for the 240. But I got this one, so... You know, with the yawning and everything, what's up, you know? But yeah, I'm gonna have to. Hey, how many of you guys do the silky thing versus the Laplander? I was thinking of getting a Laplander. Here's the thing, because I'm doing a channel, I almost feel like I need to have a silky and a Laplander so that I can do a video comparing the two. And you know, like stuff like that. I feel that having a wide variety of stuff just comes with the territory when you have a channel, because I feel that I need to be able to speak with authority on many different tools, whereas in a private way, excuse me, for getting into the bush, I like to sort of cut down on the amount of toys if I can, you know. Like, I always want to have 2 knives on me, right? A good one and then a backup for just in case. But you know. Oh, Jonathan too? All right. Have a good one. one hand out the window taking a selfie. Yeah. Land Rover driver. Click. But yeah, like, so I kind of feel that I should be getting a Laplander at some point, just so that I can have the conversation of silky is better if you like this, Laplander is better if you like that. Because the only thing I really know right now is a silky is a magic, and a Laplander is it's not a pull saw. So if you're used to using European saws, the Laplander is the way to go. You know. I also I'm just making sure that I'm not missing anything. I'm remembering how many of you guys watch is it Survival Russia? Russian Survival? Hold on, let me take a look. YouTubeage. Crap, I almost typed YouTubeage. I think it's Survival Russia. Hold on. Survival Russia. How many of you watch Survival Russia? Yeah, there it is. Interesting guy. I like him a lot. He's got a great way about him. And I'm saying this because I'm talking about saws, but he recently did a video, recently-ish, as a VR to Survival Lilies video about saws. I think I talked about this at some point in a small way, but anyways, and he didn't take her down. Yeah, it's called Helping Out Survival Lily with Saws and Safety. But he made a whole lot of really interesting points, right? Because what Survival Lily was saying was that she found that the whole idea of these kind of saws, it was really awkward, right? So she prefers like a more traditional, you know. And he was talking about, well, it kind of depends on your stance and where you're putting the power on your stroke. Because if you are putting the power on a pull stroke, and I've definitely discovered the same thing in my own personal experience. when you're pulling, and that's what you're pushing down on, this is fine. But when you're pushing, you want it to be like this. And so he was saying that, you know, Lily, you kind of forgot about that aspect in a much nicer way than I just said it. But it's true, you know, like if I'm like sawing like this, if I'm pulling, then this is fine. But pushing like that would really bugger up the wrist after a while. You know, it's just interesting stuff, man. Where am I? Live dashboard. Plain Preacher says, no such thing as too many tools. As a YouTuber, I do feel the need to agree with you. Because I do really have to be able to talk about many different kinds of tools. Well, it's midnight. And I want to be in good shape because I really want to get a video shot for you guys tomorrow. So I think I'm going to pack up my toys and go to bed. The sound this thing makes, that still bugs me. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Because I don't want to go just to a 50 millimeter. Like, I like to be able to, you know, zoom in and out. But I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to fix that tonight, that's for sure. So, have a good night, guys. And I will see you soon. If you like what I'm doing, if you don't like what I'm doing, good night, guys. Bye-bye.